Minahan sa ilalim ng Illinois soccer field, nag-iwan ng sinkhole.
Ayon sa lokal na ulat, halos nasa 100 talampakan ang lawak nito at 30 talampakan naman ang lalim. Mga detalye ng balita, ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Ricky Mathay.
At ako si Nina Richie Alagaw Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International para naman sa mga headlines ngayong Huwebes ng gabi.
Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. tinawag na deliberate and illegal ang ginawa ng China sa Ayungin Shoal incident.
Estados Unidos nanawagan sa China na itigil ang panghaharas nito sa mga barko ng Pilipinas.
Bolivian President Luis Arce nanawagan na itigil ang kudeta ng militar.
Buong mundo inaabangan ang presidential debate sa pagitan ni Joe Biden at Donald Trump.
And artificial intelligence bumida sa Mobile World Congress Shanghai sa China. Tinawag ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na isang deliberate and illegal action ang panghaharas ng China Coast Guard sa tropa ng bansa sa gitna ng resupply mission nito sa BRP Sierra Madre.
Ipinahayag ito ng Pangulo sa natapos na National Employment Summit sa Manila Hotel nitong hapon.
It's not armed. Walang pumutok.
Sir,
Hindi
bakit
tayo
may...
tinutukan ng baril.
Sorry, sir.
But it was a deliberate action to stop our people. But in the process of that, kinuhanan tayo. They boarded a Philippine vessel and took the equipment from that Philippine vessel. So although there were no arms involved, nonetheless, it is still a deliberate action, and it is essentially an illegal action that was taken by the Chinese forces.
Tinukoy ng Pangulo na ilang beses na nitong tinawagan si Chinese Ambassador Wang Xiliang. Dagdag naman ng Pangulo, ang Department of Foreign Affairs o DFA na ang magsasaayos ng formal na diskusyon hinggil sa insidente. Binigyang diin naman ni Pangulong Marcos na malinaw na iparating ng Pilipinas ang objections nito sa Chinese Embassy at Beijing.
Nanawagan ang Estados Unidos sa Beijing na itigil na nito ang panghaharas ng mga tauhan ng China Coast Guard sa mga barko ng Pilipinas sa West Philippine Sea. Kasunod po ito ng natapos na girian sa Ayungin Shoal noong June 17. Sa isang pahayag, sinabi ni U.S. Ambassador to Manila Mary Kay Carlson na the chorus against threats to peace and stability in the South China Sea is growing louder and stronger each day. When the United States sees our partners being bullied in their backyard, we speak up, and we encourage others to speak up as well as they are doing so. Dagdag pa ng U.S. envoy na sa kasalukuyan patuloy na lumalala ang tensyon sa South China Sea. Binigyang diin naman ni Carlson na ang isang free and open Indo-Pacific ay malaya mula sa pamimilit ng ibang bansa. Gayon din bukas ito para sa trade and investment sa pamamahala ng international laws. Patuloy namang hinimok ng U.S. official ang China na tapusin na ang agresibong kilos nito laban sa mga Philippine vessels, lalo na ito ay nag-ooperate lamang sa loob ng exclusive economic zone ng Pilipinas. Muli namang pinagtibay ni Carlson ang commitment ng Amerika sa Pilipinas. Isa na po rito ang Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement na isang cornerstone ng Mutual Defense Treaty sa pagitan ng Estados Unidos at Pilipinas.
Dahil sa mga pagbaha-bunsod ng sunod-sunod na pag-ulan ngayong buwan ng Hunyo, ay tumataas na ang bilang ng Leptospirosis cases sa bansa. Ayon sa Department of Health o DOH, simula nitong June 15 ay nasa 878 tao na ang nagkasakit ng leptospirosis, habang 84 naman ang namatay dahil sa sakit na ito. Ang nasabing bilang ay kalahati lamang ng naitalang 1,769 na leptospirosis cases noong nakaraang taon. Paliwanag pa ng ahensya, mula sa 6 na case counts noong May 5 hanggang May 15 ay pumalo ng 6 na po ang leptospirosis cases noong May 19 hanggang June 1. 83 individual naman ang nagka-leptospirosis nitong June 2 hanggang June 15. Subalit, sinabi ng DOH na posibleng tumaas pa rin ang case counts ng leptospirosis dahil may mga delayed reports. Ang leptospirosis ay isang zoonotic disease na dulot ng Leptospira bacterium. Nanggagaling ang bacteria na ito sa mga ihi ng daga na humahalo sa tubig baha. Posible itong makapasok sa katawan ng tao sa pamamagitan ng mga opening sa sugat o sa pamamagitan ng mga mata, ilong at bibig. Ilan sa sintomas ng leptospirosis ay lagnat, pagsusuka, pagkahilo, pananakit ng katawan, ulo at calf muscles, paninilaw ng kulay ng balat at pamumula ng mata. Kaya nananawagan ng DOH sa publiko na iwasang lumusong sa tubig baha o di kaya ay gumamit ng mga protective gear gaya ng mga botas kung kinakailangan na maglakad sa baha.
Nanawagan si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa labor sector na tiyakin ang epektibong pagpapatupad ng trabaho para sa bayan o TPB plan. Layunin ng planong itong makalikha ng hindi bababa sa 3 million na bagong trabaho pagsapit ng taong 2028. Sinabi ni Pangulong Marcos ng TPB ay isang 10-year roadmap na magsisilbing gabay tungo sa mas malawak na paglikha ng mga trabaho at pagbawi ng ekonomiya. Bukod sa paglikha ng trabaho, nais din ng gobyerno na lumikha ng mga kalidad na trabaho na may espesyal na pagbibigay diin sa pangangalaga sa kapakanan ng mga manggagawa. Makikita sa Labor Force Survey mula April 2023 hanggang 2024 ang bahagyang pagtaas sa employment rate mula 95.5% up to 96%. Bumaba rin ang unemployment rate ng bansa mula 4.5% up to 4%. Gayunpaman, ipinakita ng Labor Force Survey na ang underemployed individuals ay tumaas mula 12.9% hanggang 14.6%, habang ang labor force participation rate ay tumaas mula 64.1% hanggang 65.1%.
Namahagi si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ng higit sa 288 million pesos na tulong sa mga individual na apektado ng tagtuyot sa Western Visayas. Bumisita si Pangulong Marcos sa San Jose de Buenavista, Antique upang i-turnover ang mga makinarya at kagamitan sa pagsasaka. Ibinigay rin niya ang tulong pinansyal sa mga magsasaka at mangingisda. Ito ay bahagi ng kanyang pangako na magbigay ng tulong sa lahat ng naapektuhan ng matinding tagtuyot sa panahon ng El Nino.
Magtiwala po kayo na sisikapin namin na maabot ang ating mga liblib at malalayong pamayanan sa bawat sulok ng bansa. Nang sa gayon ay walang maiiwanan at walang mahuhuli at sama-sama tayong paglalakbay sa bagong Pilipinas, patungo sa bagong Pilipinas.
Namahagi ang Pangulo ng 10,000 piso bawat isa sa 50 napiling benepisyaryo mula sa Antique, Iloilo, Guimaras, Capiz at Aklan. Nakatanggap rin ang 4 na lokal o local government units ng 50 million pesos bawat isa, habang ang Guimaras ay nakatanggap ng 28.41 million.
Posibleng makumpleto na ang distribusyon ng 12 billion peso cash assistance ng Department of Agriculture or DA para sa mga magsasaka sa buwan ng Setyembre. Ang nasabing tulong ay nagmula sa 20 bilyong pisong sobrang taripang bigas na nakolekta ng pamahalaan noong nakaraang taon. Matatandaan na umabot sa 30 billion na halaga ang nakolektang taripa mula sa 3.6 million toneladang imported rice. Batay sa batas ng ating bansa, pinapayagang gamitin ang sumobrang 10 bilyong taripa para sa iba't ibang mga programa. Kabilang po rito ang crop diversification, dagdag insurance sa mga magpapalay at land titling o pagpapatitulo ng lupa. Paliwanag ng DA, makatatanggap ng 5,000 tulong ang mga may sinasakang lupa na mas bababa sa 2 ektarya. Ayon naman kay Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr., sisikapin nilang ipamahagi ang cash assistance para sa mga magsasaka bago matapos ang buwan ng Setyembre.
Samantala, plano naman ng Department of Agriculture o DA na mag-import ng hindi bababa sa 200,000 metric tons ng refined sugar sa pagsapit ng Setyembre. Sinabi ni Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. na ang target na importasyon ay para punan ang kakulangan bago ang milling season sa October. Dagdag niya na inaayos ng DA ang order ng asukal sa ikalawang linggo ng Hulyo dahil inaasahang bababa ang kasalukuyang stock ng asukal sa Agosto. Ayon sa United Sugar Producers Federation, sinusuportahan nila ang panukala ng ahensya dahil sa tulong na maibibigay nito bago magsimula ang harvest season. Ang umiiral na presyo ng refined sugar sa Metro Manila ay nasa pagitan ng 74 pesos per kilogram hanggang 92 pesos per kilogram. Sinabi nito na ang buwanang demand para sa asukal ay nasa pagitan ng 180,000 metric tons hanggang 240,000. Sa kasalukuyan, ang bansa ay mayroong humigit kumulang 436,229 metric tons ng physical sugar stock at 380,835.70 ng refined sugar stock.
Nakatakdang i-anunsyo ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang magiging bagong kalihim ng Department of Education o DepEd bago matapos ang linggo. Matatangdaang nagbitiw sa panunungkulan si Vice President Sara Duterte bilang kalihim ng DepEd at Vice Chairperson ng NTF-ELCAC. Sa isang press conference ng Vice Presidente, sinabi nitong hindi kahinaan ang dahilan ng kanyang pagbibitiw, kundi malasakit sa mga guro at mga mag-aaral. Sa kabila naman ito, iginiit ng Vice Presidente na kaibigan pa rin ang turing niya kay Pangulong Marcos. Susunod, Taiwan naglabas ng travel warning para sa China.
Presidente ng Bolivia hindi papayagan ang mga pag-atake sa bansa.
At dating Pangulo ng Honduras makukulong ng 45 taon. Mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by Northview Solutions. Let us build it for you.
June 3, 2024, hindi inasahan ng mga residente dito ang biglang pagsabog ng Bulkang Kanlaon. Nagbuga ito ng makapal na usok at inilikas naman ng higit 1,000 individual na residente sa paligid ng bulkan. Nakita niyo ba dito yung Nay, abo?
Umabot amo na gani siya nga napatay, kay ang abo init. Kung wala ang abo na abot, buhi lang ni dapat.
Nandito tayo ngayon sa Canlaon City kasamang ibang volunteers para tulungan tayong mag-repack nitong lingap bags. Ito ipapamigay natin para sa mga naapektuhan po ng pagputok ng Bulkang Canlaon.
Let's knit together. Senate 25. Senate 25.
This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart.
Binalaan ni Taiwan Mainland Affairs Council spokesperson Liang Wenjie ang kanyang mga kababayan laban sa paglalakbay papuntang China, Hong Kong at Macau. Ito ay matapos magtaas ng travel warning ang gobyerno ng Taiwan matapos magbabala ang Beijing noong nakaraang linggo na papatawan ng death penalty ang mga Taiwanese foreigners na kanilang maituturing na diehard Taiwan independence supporters. Inanunsyo naman ni Liang ang pagtaas ng travel warning kung saan sinabi niyang ang babala ng China ay nagpapakita ng matinding panganib laban sa kaligtasan ng mga kababayan nito dahil sa mas lalong pinaigting na national security laws ng nasabing bansa. Noong tanungin naman tungkol sa posibilidad na i-extradite ng China ang mga Taiwanese na naakusahan ng separatism ay naniniwalang hindi basta-basta makikipagtulungan ang mga bansa sa China, lalo na't ang separatism ay isang krimen na eksklusibo lamang sa China. Ilang beses nang nagpahiwatig si Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te ng kanyang kagustuhang makausap ang China ukol sa soberanya ng Taiwan, ngunit tinatanggihan ito ng Beijing. Hindi naman tinago ng Beijing ang kanilang pagbatikos kay Lai Ching-te na kanilang tinatawag na separatist kung saan nagsagawa pa ang China ng war games malapit sa katubigan ng Taiwan matapos itong manumpa bilang presidente ng Taiwan.
其实我要强调，民主不是犯罪，专制才是罪恶。中国没有任何权利可以制裁台湾人民。 只因为台湾人民的主张，中国更没有跨越追溯台湾人民的权利。
Samantala, matagumpay na isinagawa ang test launch ng North Korea sa isang multi-warhead missile. Iniulat ng State News Agency na KCNA na ang pagsubok ay nakatuon sa pagkakaroon ng MIRV capability na nagpapahintulot ng pag-launch ng maraming warheads sa isang ballistic missile. Patuloy ang Pyongyang na nagpapalakas ang kanilang mga armas para matupad ang mga utos ni Kim Jong-un na imodernisa ang militar ng bansa. Kabilang ang multi-warhead missile sa mga armas na sinasabi niyang pagbubutihin ng bansa sa isang pagpupulong noong taong 2021. Kinondena rin na agad ng South Korea, US at Japan ang paglulunsad ng missile bilang paglabag sa mga resolusyon ng United Nations Security Council.
Sa kanyang pagbisita sa Washington, sinabi ni Israel Defense Minister Yoav Gallant na kinakalaban lang nila ang mga nais manakit sa kanilang bansa. Si NJ De Guzman para sa report.
Sa pagharap ni Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant sa Estados Unidos, sinabi nito ang gera ng Israel ay hindi sa tao ng Gaza ni sa tao ng Lebanon. Ang kanilang gera anya ay laban sa Hamas at Hezbollah at sa rehimen ng Iran. Ipinangako rin ni Gallant ang tiyak na pagpapadala ng tulong sa mga mamamayang nasasalanta ng labanan.
But let it be known that our war is not with the people of Gaza. Our war is not with the people of Lebanon. Our war is against Hamas, against Hezbollah, and their backers, the Iranian regime. We are committed, and I am personally committed, to facilitating the delivery of essential humanitarian aid to Gaza. We only fight those who seek to harm us.
Samantala, ukol sa tila hindi pagkakaunawaan ni Pangulong Joe Biden at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dahil sa pagsuspindi ng isang shipment ng armas, sinabi ni Gallant na sa bawat pamilya, tulad ng pagiging pamilya ng Amerika sa kanila, may umuusbong na mga hindi pagkakaunawaan. At sa hinaharap, naninindigan sila sa truce at hostage deal ni Biden na anya ay tinanggap na ng Israel at ngayon ay nag-aabang sa pagtanggap ng Hamas.
In every family, and we consider the American people as our family. Disagreement may arise, yet, like all families, we discuss our disagreements in-house and remain united. Looking at the future, we stand firmly behind the President's deal, which Israel has accepted, and now Hamas must accept or bear the consequences.
Nagbabala naman si outgoing United Nations Humanitarian Chief Martin Griffith na ang pagkalat ng gerang Israel-Hamas sa Lebanon ay may potensyal na maging apokaliptik. Ayon kay Griffith, ang gerang kasasangkutan ng Lebanon ay hihila rin sa Syria at iba pang mga bansa. NJ De Guzman para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Bigo ang grupo ni na former Army Chief General Juan Jose Zuniga na lusubin ng Presidential Palace ng Bolivia. Agad siyang kinumpronta ni Bolivian President Luis Arce sa Presidential Palace hallway at inatasang itigil nito ang kudeta. Ipinaalala ni President Arce kay Zuniga na bilang Pangulo ng bansang Bolivia ay siya ang kapitan nito kung kaya't inutusan niya si Zuniga na pabalikin sa pwesto ang mga sundalo.
Han querido sorprendernos y sorprender al pueblo boliviano. Hemos reaccionado y también el pueblo movilizado ha hecho posible que hoy hagamos retroceder esta intentona golpista. ¡Gracias, pueblo boliviano!
Ipinahuli ni President Arce si Zuniga dahil sa kasong insubordination at pagkatapos ay sinibak niya ito sa pwesto bilang Army Chief ng Bolivia. Nagtalaga rin si Arce ng mga bagong military commanders. Sa isang maikling talumpati sa presidential residence ay tiniyak ni President Arce sa publiko na hindi papayagan ng kanyang gobyerno ang alinmang pagtatangka ng kudeta sa kanilang bansa. Nanawagan din siya na ipaglaban nila ang natamo nilang demokrasya laban sa mga nagtatangkang sumira rito. Nagpasalamat din ang Pangulo sa mga miyembro ng militar at kapulisan na nananatiling tapat sa lehitimong gobyerno ng Bolivia.
Saludar a esos militares que se han mantenido firmes con la constitución política del Estado y el respeto a un gobierno legítimamente elegido. Queremos saludar también a la policía boliviana, que también se ha mantenido firme con la constitución política del Estado. Nos hemos mantenido aquí en Casa Grande, donde ustedes nos han puesto, porque los únicos que nos pueden sacar de aquí son ustedes, hermanas y hermanos.
Samantala, pinatawang makulong ng 45 taon si dating Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez. Kasunod ito ng drug trafficking case niya kung saan pinagbabayad din siya ng $8 milyong na kaakibat ng multa. Noong Marso, napatunayan ng mga hurado sa New York na guilty si Hernandez sa 3 kaso ng drug trafficking matapos ang 2 linggong pagdinig sa Manhattan Federal Court. Taong 2022 nang ma-extradite siya mula Honduras matapos magsampa ang U.S. Department of Justice ng 3 drug trafficking at firearms-related case laban sa dating Pangulo. Inakusahan pa ng piskal ang 55 anyos na si Hernandez dahil sa kanyang pakikipagsabwatan sa mga drug cartel kung saan nagdala pa sila ng higit kumulang sa 400 tonelada ng cocaine mula Honduras patungong Estados Unidos. Mariing pinabulaanan naman ito ng dating Pangulo at sinabing mali ang akusasyon sa kanya at lahat ng mga paratang ay pawang mga imbento lamang. Iginigiit naman ng pamilya ng dating Pangulo na nakipag-ugnayan pa ito sa Drug Enforcement Agency upang maaresto ang nasabing kartel na nagtutulak umano ng droga.
País, ningún presidente querrá enfrentar a estos delincuentes o trabajar con la DEA. Esto nos hace sentir profundamente indignados ante la injusticia cometida contra mi esposo. Él ha sido víctima de un auténtico linchamiento judicial en un país. Ningún presidente querrá enfrentar a estos delincuentes o trabajar con la DEA. Esto nos
Sinabi ni President William Ruto ng Kenya na hindi niya pipirmahan ang kontrobersyal na finance bill na humarap sa malawakang protesta at nagresulta sa pagkamatay ng hindi bababa sa 23 katao.
Consequently, having reflected on the continuing conversation around the content of the Finance Bill 2024 and listening keenly to the people of Kenya, who have said loudly that they want nothing to do with this Finance Bill 2024, I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 Finance Bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn. And I have agreed with these members that that becomes our collective position.
Matapos ang pahayag na ito, sinabi ng mga nagpoprotesta sa Kenya na ipagpapatuloy pa rin nila ang 1 Million People March. Ito ay isang panawagan sa lahat ng mamamayan na magmarcha sa buong bansa at harangan ang mga daan patungo sa kabisera na Nairobi. Ang ilang sa mga nagpoprotesta ay nanawagan din na sakupin ang State House sa naturang kabisera. Binibigyan diin ni U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken ang kahalagahan ng pagpapakita ng pagpigil ng mga security forces sa Kenya. Hinimok niya ang pag-iwas sa karahasan at hinikayat ang agarang pagsisiyasat sa mga aligasyon ng paglabag sa karapatang pantao na nangyayari sa bansa.
Hinihinalang may kaugnayan ng youth demand protest group sa naging trespassing ng 4 na lalaki sa tahanan ni United Kingdom Prime Minister Rishi Sunak sa North Yorkshire ayon sa ulat ng pulisya. Mula sa United Kingdom, Sara Alcantara para sa balita.
Arestado ang 4 na hinihinalang miyembro ng Youth Demand Protest Group matapos nitong pasukin ang Kirby Sixton Mansion sa North Yorkshire kung saan nagbigay ng talumpati ukol sa constituency address si UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Ito ay sa gitna ng pagbisita ni Japanese Emperor Naruhito at Empress Masako sa Britanya. Paliwanag ng North Yorkshire Police, ang Youth Demand ay isang grupo ng mga kabataan kung saan sila ay nagpoprotesta upang ikampanya ang arms embargo sa Israel at bawiin ang mga bagong lisensya ng mga oil and gas firms. Nagsagawa na ng pagsisiyasat sa mga suspect ang pulisya hinggil sa naging trespassing. Nagpahayag naman ng pasasalamat si Rishi Sunak sa North Yorkshire Police para sa agarang pagresponde ng mga ito. Sara Alcantara, London, United Kingdom para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Binasura ng United States Supreme Court ang mga argumento ng Missouri at Louisiana states na nilabag ng federal government ang First Amendment ng U.S. Constitution. Dahil dito, napawalang bisa ang isang desisyon ng lower court na nagsabing nilabag ng Biden and Trump administrations ang First Amendment at pinilit nila ang mga social media companies na alisin sa mga online platforms ang mga mapanlinlang o hindi tamang content ukol sa COVID-19 o US elections. Sa isang 6-3 decision na sinulat ni Justice Amy Coney Barrett, sinabi ng kataas-taasang hukumang walang locus standi o legal standing ang Missouri at Louisiana states, maging ang 7 individual na co-plaintiffs sa kaso. Paliwanag ni Justice Barrett, hindi nakapagpakita ng anumang pinsala or substantial risk ang mga plaintiffs na sila ay makatatanggap ng isang injury dahil sa ginawang aksyon ng federal government. Bigo rin anla ang mga plaintiffs na patunayan sa korte na pinilit ng gobyerno ang mga social media companies na i-regulate ang mga information sa kanilang mga platforms. Paliwanag pa ng US Supreme Court, ang mga social media companies ang naglabas mismo ng mga policies upang labanan ang misinformation noong panahon ng COVID-19 at US elections.
Bukas ay sasabak si US President Joe Biden sa isang presidential debate laban kay Donald Trump. Pero sa harap nito, maraming mga botante ang umaasa sa mababang performance ni Biden dahil na rin sa umanong limitasyon ng mental na kapasidad nito para sa isang debate. Si Rosel Feria para sa detalye.
Hindi binibilib ang maraming Americans na kaya ni US President Joe Biden ang 90-minute debate nito laban kay Donald Trump. Isang dahilan dito ay ang nakikita nilang gap sa mental acuity ng dalawang presidential aspirants. Higit pa rito, isang kahinaang nakita ng political analyst kay Biden ay ang usaping foreign policy ng Estados Unidos mula nang umupo ito bilang Pangulo ng Amerika. Kasama rito ang mga polisiya nito sa migrants na patuloy na pinagmumula ng awayan sa pagitan ng Republicans at Democrats. Maisasama rin ang kondisyon ng Estados Unidos sa geopolitical war nito ng China. Sa panahon ng administrasyon ni Biden, sinasabing lumaki ang hidwaan sa pagitan ng Amerika at China sa tech and defense industry dahil sa banning nito sa Chinese firms. Isa dito ay ang TikTok na pagmamayari ng ByteDance. Kung pag-uusapan naman ang kapakanan ng Estados Unidos, mas ipinagpaunaan niya ni Biden na maglaan ng military aid sa Ukraine at defense packages sa Israel kaysa tugunan ang potensyal na government shutdown ng Washington. Magugunitang ilang beses na ring muntikang mag-shutdown ang Washington sa ilalim ng administrasyong Biden. Ngunit sa kabila ng mga ito, magiging kaabang-abang ang nalalapit na presidential debate ngayong linggo dahil dito malalaman ang kakayahan ni Biden na mga tuwiran sa debate para muli siyang iboto ng Amerika bilang Pangulo. Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C. para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
At bago sumapit ang 2024 US presidential debate, balikan naman po natin ang naging kampanya ni Donald Trump noong taong 2020. Narito po ang report.
Naghangad ng re-election si Trump sa nakaraang 2020 United States presidential election, kung saan ay sinimulan niya ng maaga ang kampanya para dito at gumastos ng malaking halaga ng ilang linggo matapos ang kanyang inaugurasyon bilang Pangulo noong 2017. Mula Pebrero 2017, nagsagawa agad si Trump ng higit sa 150 rally at fundraisers para sa kampanyang ito at bumisita sa ilang mahalagang estado para sa eleksyon. At pagdating ng 2020, hinarap niya si Joe Biden sa dalawang debate na parehong naging kapansin-pansin dahil sa init ng sagutan nila tungkol sa pandemya at rasismo sa Estados Unidos. Habang taglay pa rin ni Trump ang parehong estilo nagpanalo sa kanya noong 2016, sinira niya ang kanyang pagkakataon para maihalal muli. Ito ay dahil sa maling kiliti ni Trump sa tenga ng mga Amerikano sa dalawang natapos na debate. Ayon sa mga survey, si Biden ang itinuring na panalo sa parehong debate na nagbigay ng tulong sa kanyang kampanya. Gayunpaman, inaasahang mas madaling malalamangan ni Trump si Biden sa paparating na debate. Ito ay dahil sa unti-unting pagbaba ng approval ratings na rin ni Biden, na humigit kumulang 36% mula sa halos 60% noong 2021. Kung gayon, kailangan lamang ulitin ng dating Pangulo ang kanyang magandang performance na nagpanalo sa kanya noong 2016. Kasama rito ang pagpapahayag ng malinaw sa mga argumento at direktang maipunto ang boses ng Amerika sa debate bukas. Mark Rusil para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Usapang presidential debate pa rin, naghahanda na si Pangulong Joe Biden at dating Pangulong Donald Trump ng Estados Unidos para sa pinakaaabangang debate kaugnay ng eleksyon sa Nobyembre. Ayon sa isang eksperto, inaasahang paiinitin lalo ng debate ang patutsada ng dalawang kandidato. Narito si Jeff Sanidad para sa karagdagang detalye.
Ayon kay political analyst at Director of Debate ng University of Michigan, Aaron Call, ang una sa dalawang debate sa pagitan ni Pangulong Joe Biden at Donald Trump ay masasabing pinakamahalaga at pinakaaabangan sa kasaysayan ng Estados Unidos. Anya, nakasalalay sa kalalabasan ng debate ang magiging desisyon ng mga botante sa darating na Nobyembre.
The stakes of this debate in Atlanta tomorrow cannot be any higher. It may be the most important and widely anticipated presidential debate in the United States of all time. The election is razor thin. Our last several elections have been very close. Everyone expects this to be very as well. Both candidates could not be more diametrically opposed in terms of their positions, their agendas, their policy beliefs.
Binanggit ni Call ang mahahalagang mga issue na kinahaharap ngayon ng bansa. kabilang na ang ekonomiya, immigration at ang Korte Suprema. Anya, milyon-milyong mga tao ang manunood kung kaya't maaaring mabago ang naratibo ng eleksyon, depende sa kung paanong magsasagutan ang dalawang kandidato.
So much is at stake at the election given the country remains so polarized and there's such important issues like the economy, immigration, abortion, the Supreme Court, and other things. And so this election will be very impactful. And having a debate like this so early in the process in June really shifts the narrative of the race and shows what it's all about. Tens of millions of people are going to tune in. The debaters only have an opportunity to make one first positive impression on the debate stage. And so the stakes couldn't be higher.
Dagdag pa ni Carl, inaasahang magpo-focus ang mga debate sa mga issue at hindi sa ataking personal, kung kaya't maraming pagbabago sa tuntunin ng debate tulad na lang ng pag-mute ng mikropono at walang live audience. Ito anya ay malaking tulong para sa mga manunood na nais talagang makahanap ng desisyon.
That's the goal. All these different rule changes, no live audience, the muting of microphones, and things like that are designed for a more issue and substance-focused debate, as opposed to the one in Cleveland in 2020 that was marred by interruptions, ad hominem attacks, and things like that. So that's certainly the desire of CNN, the moderators, and it'd be most beneficial to the public and undecided voters.
Jeff Sanidad para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, cooling towers dinemolish sa China.
Protesta sa Kenya na uwi sa karahasan.
At lab ng University sa Tokyo naglabas ng living skin para sa robot. Iba pang detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by Robic Builders. May init na issue at malalim na talakayan.
Wala namang scandals, wala namang corruption issue or anything of that magnitude to warrant a change in leadership.
Ang news commentary show na matapang at may paninindigan.
Ito ngayon may Chinese mafia, nakakakuha ng mga authentic na Filipino birth certificate. Well, ako because nga sabi ko, ibabalance mo lang naman yan eh. So, maging mas stricto lang tayo, siguro taasan natin yung ante.
Ano sa palagay nyo? Monday to Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Let's get together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Dahil walang hinto ang balita.
Financial straits.
Mata ng Agila Weekend tuwing Sabado, alas 4 ng hapon. Ito ang Net 25. Matatag, matapag, matapak.
Let's get together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Dear Bossing, Polling and Tally, ako po si Bong.
Hindi mo na lang ako sa module ko. Ikaw naman sumagot. Lakasan mo pa, please. Number 3. May naisip ako eh. Gusto kong mag-apply ng trabaho. Pero ayoko magtrabaho.
Teka, nasa ba yung mapunta ka na?
Teka lang, X ka lang.
Hindi, kikil ako eh, kikil.
Love, Bosslen, and Tally. Tuwing linggo, dito lang sa Net 25.
Let's get together sa Net 25.
This portion is brought to you by North Luzon Express Terminal.
Nagbabalik ang Mata ng Agila International sa pagpapatuloy ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Gumuho ang isang minahan sa ilalim ng soccer field sa Illinois na nag-iwan ng sinkhole sa lugar. Kita Nakita sa aerial footage ang malaking buta sa Gordon Moore Park. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, halos nasa 100 talampakan ang lawak nito at 30 talampakan naman ang lalim. Walang nasaktan sa naganap na pagguho ng lupa. Samantala, isinara naman ng otoridad ang naturang parke para alamin ang naging kasiraan nito.
Dinemolish ang ilang cooling towers at chimneys ng isang thermal plant sa Zhengzhou, China bilang hakbang para sa urban renewal project ng syudad. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, pinasabog ito sa loob ng Xining Electric Power Company compound dakong 9:30 a.m. Plano kasi ng otoridad na tayuhan ito ng residential buildings at ilang palikuran. Taong 2019 ang itinigil ang operasyon sa planta matapos ang 71 taon na serbisyo nito.
Umabot na sa 23 katao ngayon ang patay sa Kenya. Ito ay matapos magkagulo ang mga taong nagpoprotesta doon. Nagsimula ang protesta nito nga nakaraang linggo laban sa pagtaas ng buwis kung saan libo-libo ang nagmarcha patungo sa Nairobi. Karamihan sa mga dumalo ay mga kabataang naglalayong ibaba ang planong palakihin ang kontribusyon ng buwis sa bansa. Dagdag pa rito ay nagdala naman ng telebisyon ng mga tao kung saan ay ipambabato ito sa bintana ng mga gusali. Kasunod nito ay nagpadala ng puwersa militar si Kenyan President William Ruto para tulungan ang mga pulis sa lumalalang sitwasyon. Nagbigay babala rin siya na kung magpapatuloy ang karahasan sa gitna ng protesta ay mahaharap sila sa pagkakakulong. Samantala, ayon sa Kenyatta National Hospital ay nasa 20 katao ngayon ang sugatan at nagpapagaling kung saan ang ilan sa tinamaan ng mga bala.
Bumagsak sa mga kamay ng Spanish customs agents ang isang grupo ng drug traffickers. Batay sa inisyal na ulat, sinira pa ng 4 na sospek na sakay ng narco submarine ang ebidensya na sila ay may tinatagong droga. Nang lumapit ang mga pulis ay hindi agad sumuko ang mga sospek. Binuksan nila ang pinto ng narco submarine upang pumasok ang tubig at malusaw ang mga droga. Inaresto pa rin ng Spanish customs ang mga sospek at dinala sa presinto.
Inilabas ng isang laboratory sa University of Tokyo ang tinatawag nitong living skin na pwedeng gamitin ng robot para mas magmukhang tao. Batay po sa naging findings sa Cell Reports Physical Science, ang naturang balat ay dinevelop gamit ang mixture ng aktwal na balat or skin cells ng isang tao sa isang collagen model at saka ipinatong ito sa isang 3D printed resin base. Paliwanag ni Professor Shoji Takushi, ang naturang living skin ay maituturing na nakahawig na rin sa kung anong meron ang isang individual. Sinabi pa ni Takushi na sa pamamagitan ng maliit na robot face, kaya nito i-replicate ang itsura ng pagngiti. Tinukoy din na mag-isang humihilom ang tissue ng naturang living skin katulad ng sa tao. Pero giit ni Takushi, aabutin pa ng halos 1 dekada ang research and development ng living skin bago ito tuluyang magamit sa mga robots.
Bumidang iba't ibang technological advancements sa artificial intelligence at taunang Mobile World Congress Shanghai sa China. Kasabay ito ng patuloy na pagpapalakas ng Beijing sa naturang teknolohiya bilang key industry tungo sa maunlad nitong ekonomiya. Si JD Mahinay para sa detalye.
Umaarangkada na ang hinihintay na Mobile World Congress Shanghai sa China kung saan itinanghal ng samut-saring tech firms ang kanilang cutting-edge technologies. Mula sa phones na kaya mag-detect ng deepfake scams hanggang sa mga driverless cars, mapapansin ang patuloy na development ng artificial intelligence o AI. Dahil na rin sa nagsimulang karera mula sa pagsulpot ng chatbot ng OpenAI na ChatGPT. Sa harap nito, naglunsad ang bagong smart device ang Chinese brand na Honor, kung saan sinabi nitong magiging panabla ito sa mga real-time deepfake scam calls. Noong buwan ng Pebrero kasi, may naiulit na isang Hong Kong finance worker na nag-transfer ng higit $26 million sa isang scammer, kung saan ay nagpakilalang colleague niya ito sa isang video call. Paliwanag naman ng CEO ng Honor na si George Zhao na kaya ng AI na palakasin ang users nito sa iba't ibang aspeto. Tinukoy din ng ibang source speakers sa event na kahit anong kaakibat na risk ang dadalhin ng AI, hindi pa rin mapipigilan ang revolution nito. Kaya mula dito ay dapat tugunan ng mga tech firms ang solusyon sa mga umuusbong na AI problems. JD Mahinay para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Masayang tinanggap ng K-pop boy group na 17 ang pagkilala bilang UNESCO Goodwill Ambassadors para sa kabataan.
Today, we are humbled and overwhelmed to stand before you for the first time as UNESCO's Goodwill Ambassador for Youth. It is a great honor to be representing today's young people, which is a priority group for UNESCO.
Bukod dito ay magbibigay rin ang grupo ng donasyon na nagkakahalaga ng $1 million para sa mga kabataan na bahagi ng UNESCO Youth Grant Scheme for Creative Projects.
Ambassador for Youth, we will spread the power of companionship and contribute to building supportive youth communities for the better future we envision. For the next chapter of the Going Together campaign, 17 will donate $1 million to the joint Global Youth Grant Scheme with UNESCO.
Ayon naman kay UNESCO Director General Audrey Azoulay, ang ugnayan sa pagitan ng UNESCO at ng grupo ay simula ng mas maganda pang mga gawain at plano.
Thanks to them, thanks to their commitment, we will expand our youth grant scheme across the world with a call for projects going together, which will open next August, that will be able to support hundreds of young people for creative projects to improve their lives and those of their community.
Samantala, nagsimula ang ugnayan ng dalawa matapos magtanghal ng grupo noong Nobyembre sa UNESCO Paris office. Binubuo naman ang grupo ng 13 miyembro na si Sisku, Jionghan, Joshua, Jun, Hoshi, Wonwu, Wuzi, DK, Mingyu, T8, Siongkwan, Vernon at Dino.
Susunod, mga damit ni Princess Diana ibebenta.
University of the Philippines naglabas ng 10 flagship programs.
At abangan ang iba pang mga istorya pagdating ni Alma Angeles at ng Net25 World News. Iba pa pong mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Mga kaono, Elvis Tigador po ito. Narito na ang mga prank at playtime video na dapat niyong abangan ngayong Sabado. Frankie Alamero. Buti na lang, gwapo. Sisimula na ang pakikialam at pagkukomento.
Pong, 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 pong. My name is Frankie Alamero.
Pinapakialaman ko ang mga taong nakikita ko, katulad nitong babaeng nakapula.
Ay, nagtitinda na taho. Okay ba yan? Naka-brown. Kailan ka huli nagpaputol ng buhok? Sustansya ba yan?
Kita nyo? Si Frankie Alamero, nakakain ng libreng taho. Stop toy na teddy bear, manggugulat na mga tao. Everywhere. Tutok na sa Ono HBO, Beer Only, ngayong Sabado, alas 8 ng gabi, sa Net 25, Net 25, dahil hindi namin kayo tatantanan, nakatatawa.
Sa Net 25.
Isasagawa sa susunod na linggo ang pinakamalaking pagsusubasta sa Royal Collection ni Princess Diana na gaganapin sa California, USA. Tinatayang nasa 50 piraso ng mga gowns, shoes, handbags at sombrero ang maibebenta sa Beverly Hills. Kabilang sa kanyang mga koleksyon ang isang midnight blue tulle dress at flamenco-style lace-up number dress. Bida rin dito ang isang blue diamante ball gown na isinuot niya noong 1986 para sa London premiere ng Andrew Lloyd Webber's The Phantom of the Opera. Tinawag naman itong Princess Diana's Elegance and Royal Collection kung saan makikita ang ilan sa gawang kanyang mga paboritong designer na sina Victor Edelstein, Murray Arbide at Catherine Walker. Samantala, taong 1997 naman nang masawi si Princess Diana sa car crash matapos itong takasan ang mga media at fans.
Naibenta ngayon ang isang orihinal na cover art ng librong Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone sa halagang $1.9 million. Ayon sa auction house sa Sotheby's ay nagsimula ang presyuhan ng item sa $600,000 na sinundan pa ng 3 mas matataas na halaga. Dagdag pa nila ay inabot ang pagsusubasta ng 10 minuto na ginanap sa New York. Kinilala naman ang illustrator na si Thomas Taylor kung saan ay gumamit ito ng watercolor para sa cover ng libro. Bukod dito ay ginamit din ang kanyang ginuhit sa ilang translated na versions ng Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Samantala, marami naman sa mga Potterheads ang natuwa nang makita muli ang isa sa mga paborito nilang karakter at palabas na Harry Potter. Sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon noong Martes ay isinapubliko ng Universidad ng Pilipinas ang 10 flagship programs nito sa ilalim ng bago nitong motto na Honor Excellence Service sa ilalim ng administrasyon ni Angelo Jimenez. Bukod sa zero tuition, marami pang magagandang bagay na aabangan ng mga eskolar ng bayan sa pambansang universidad. Inilatag ng University of the Philippines ang 10 flagship programs nito sa ilalim ng administrasyon ni Angelo Gigil Jimenez. Sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon, simula nang maupo si Jimenez bilang presidente ng UP noong Pebrero ng nagdaang taon, isinapubliko ang 10 flagship programs ng pambansang universidad sa pamamagitan ng isang media launch kung saan ako ay naanyayahang makibahagi bilang kasapi ng panel na kinabilangan ng mga batikan at kinikilalang personalidad sa larangan ng broadcast at pamamahayag. Isang malayang talastasan ang nagbigay daan upang talakayin ang mga nasabing programa. Ang 10 flagship programs ay ang mga sumusunod: Academic Excellence, More Inclusive Admissions, UP as a Research and Innovation University, Open Distance E-Learning for National and Global Reach, Archipelagic and Oceanic Virtual University, active partnerships with SUCs, HEIs, LGUs, NGAs, private sector, and civil society, flourishing arts and culture, expansion of public service offices, ugnayan ng pahinungod, padayon, and NSTP programs, quality management system, and quality assurance, digital transformation. Naglalayo ng mga programang ito na mapalawak pa ang sakop ng iba't ibang aspeto ng umiiral na sistema, gaya na lamang ng mga karagdagang testing sites upang mabigyan ng pagkakataon ng mas marami pang aplikante sa mga sulok ng bansa. Dagdag subsidiya sa mga mag-aaral na may angking talino ngunit maralita. Pagpapayaman ng sining at kultura. Pagpapaigting ng online learning system upang hindi malimitahan ang pagkatuto sa pisikal lamang. Pagkakaroon ng online portal kung saan magiging bukas ang edukasyon sa mundo. Pakikipagtulungan sa iba't ibang sektor at marami pang iba. Ang lahat ng ito ay pumapailalim sa mithiing makamit ang isang transformative university in the service of the nation. Ang 10 flagship programs ay pawang mga nakaangkla sa karangalan, husay at serbisyo, mga adhikaing ibinibida bilang tatak UP.
I'll tell you just a few examples. No?
Yes.
Number one sa initiatives natin is we have a padayon portal that will include all public service initiatives sa UP para meron tayong monitoring, meron tayong reinforcement. Now, it will record everything.
Si Angelo Azura Jimenez ay nakatapos sa kursong Sociology sa University of the Philippines taong 1987, ng Law taong 1994 at natanggap sa Philippine Bar noong 1995. 2 beses siyang nanilbihan sa UP Board of Regents sa atas ni na dating Pangulong Corazon Aquino noong 1992 at Rodrigo Duterte taong 2016 at naging trustee ng UP Foundation mula 2017 hanggang 2021.
To advance studies on climate change adaptation, disaster risk mitigation, land use and development planning, including teaching LGUs how to tap into the 35 billion Resilience Fund.
Sa kasalukuyan, si Jimenez ay isang abogado, labor and migration expert, educator at author. 2 ulit siyang tumanggap ng presidential citations noong 2005 para sa kanyang naging papel sa pagkakaligtas kay Robert Tarongoy mula sa pagkakabihag sa Baghdad at noong 2006 para naman sa kanyang kontribusyon bilang crisis manager sa digmaan sa Lebanon. Si Jimenez ang ika-22 presidente ng Universidad ng Pilipinas at mauupo hanggang 2029.
Ayan, congratulations, President Gigil. Ay, syempre, dahil personal natin kakilala yan, Nina. Alam natin talaga na hindi na siya mahusay, kundi may mabuti din siyang puso.
Tama
Ayan.
yan.
So, we're so excited with what the future has in store, not only for UP,
Not only
but
for
the
UP.
educational system of the Philippines.
Yes, nakakatuwa, di ba? Pati yung online learning, nakakatuwa na hindi mo kailangan physical na nandoon para maka-achieve ka o maka-earn ka ng isang degree halimbawa, di ba? Kasi may mga paraan na kung saan kahit nasa malayong lugar ka, halimbawa nasa Thailand ka, o kunyari ano bang mga gusto natin sa Spain, o di ba maaari ka na maka-earn ng degree sa UP kahit nasa malayo ka. Isa lang yan sa maraming promising changes para sa edukasyon in general. Sabi mo nga, hindi lang ng UP. Nakakatuwa.
Ako, kung ikaw ba, Nina, bibigyan ng pagkakataon, halimbawa makapag-aral ulit. Number one, ako, ito parang pang-beauty
Ay,
ng
gusto ko
question.
yan.
Number one, would you want to really take another course? If yes, what would it be?
Ay, nakakaloka. Parang I wanna study, I wanna learn another language. Ayun.
Nice.
If it's not Spanish, it's French. Actually, mas French pala kaysa Spanish.
Oo, kasi medyo yung ating lingwahe na Filipino, Tagalog, di ba? Medyo may pagkakahawig na yan, di ba?
Tama. Tsaka hindi lang yun, parang masyadong naging komportable siguro yung utak natin the past how many years, lalo na nag-pandemya. I think it's time to challenge our brains to learn something totally new, di ba? Yun.
Kaya siguro imbitahan din natin yung mga ating manonood, di ba? Check out nyo yung website ng UP. Malay nyo, kayo din po ay maingganyo to widen your horizons even more at walang pinipiling edad yan.
Tama.
At tandaan, narito po kami para maghatid ng balita sa amang dako ng mundo. Muli, ako po si Ricky Matay.
At ako naman si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para sa balitang nangyari sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Net25 World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina Enrique. I'm Alma Angeles for Net25 World News. On tonight's top stories. In response to escalating actions by the Chinese Coast Guard in the West Philippine Sea, President Marcos stressed today the necessity for the government to move beyond mere diplomatic protests and demarches against China. President Marcos announced today that he will appoint a new secretary for the Department of Education by week's end, replacing Vice President Sara Duterte. 2 Bolivian army leaders were arrested following a tense standoff involving soldiers and tanks outside government buildings, described by President Luis Arce as an attempted coup. Kenya witnessed widespread protests against proposed tax increases outlined in a new finance bill. Now tensions peaked when demonstrators breached the parliament building, resulting in casualties. Responding to the public outcry, President William Ruto made a significant U-turn or reversal, withdrawing the proposed tax changes. And NASA announced that SpaceX has been selected to construct a vessel tasked with safely returning the International Space Station to Earth's atmosphere and ultimately to its final resting place in the Pacific Ocean upon its retirement in 2030. In response to the aggressive actions of the Chinese Coast Guard in the West Philippine Sea, President Marcos Jr. emphasized today the need for the government to move beyond filing diplomatic protests and demarches against China.
But you know, we have how many? We have over 100 already protests. We have already made the similar number of demarches. So we have to do more than just that. Kasi papatawag natin yung ambassador, sasabihin natin itong posisyon namin, hindi namin gusto yung nangyari, and that's it. But we have to do more than that, so we are. So we're doing more than just that.
The president noted that the government has already objected to certain actions taken by the People's Liberation Army maritime forces. During the RORE mission on June 17, CCG officers attacked and damaged the rigid hull inflatable boats of the Philippine Navy at a Ayungin show.
Sir, kasi...
It's not armed. Walang pumutok.
Sir, bakit
Hindi tayo tinutukan ng baril.
Sorry, sir.
But it was a deliberate action to stop our people. But in the process of that, kinuhanan tayo. They boarded a Philippine vessel and took the equipment from that Philippine vessel. So although there were no arms involved, nonetheless, it is still a deliberate action, and it is essentially an illegal action that was taken by the Chinese forces. Yung una, hindi tinitignan pa lang namin yung data. Baka nagkamali lang. Pero mula nung napunta ako sa Westcom at nakausap ko si Admiral Torres, lahat na pati na yung mga seaman, sinabi ko ano ba talaga nangyari? Maliwanag, hindi misunderstanding. Talagang pinuntahan tayo para harangin ang ating resupply.
President Marcos Jr. announced also today that he will name a replacement for Vice President Sara Duterte as the Secretary of the Department of Education by the end of the week. In a media interview, the President emphasized the importance of the Education Department, calling it arguably the most critical government agency and stressing that it should not remain without a leader.
Well, you know, we have to carry on, and the Department of Education is quite possibly, arguably, the most important department because education is that important. So no matter the change of leadership within the department, we still have to carry on. So we are now, I will probably be able, I would like to be able to announce the appointment of the new DepEd Secretary by the end of the week.
In her resignation letter, Vice President Duterte said she has prepared a 30-day plan to ensure the seamless transition of the DepEd. The president said Duterte did not provide any reason for stepping down from the cabinet.
She didn't give any reasons. I asked her if there were any particular reasons why she has chosen to resign from the Department of Education and from the NTF-LCAC. And she said, wag na lang natin pag-usapan. So I did not force the issue.
Two Bolivian army leaders were arrested after soldiers and tanks took up position in front of government buildings in what President Luis Arce called an attempted coup. The troops and tanks entered Plaza Murillo, a historic square where the President and Congress are situated, in the afternoon, prompting global condemnation of an attack on democracy. One of the tanks tried to break down a metal door of the presidential palace. Surrounded by soldiers and 8 tanks, the now dismissed Army Chief General Juan Jose Zuniga said the armed forces intend to restructure democracy to make it a true democracy and not only run by the same few people for 30 and 40 years. AFP reporters saw soldiers and tanks pulling back from the square shortly after. The uprising lasted about 5 hours. Zuniga was captured and forced into a police car as he addressed reporters outside the military barracks later on Wednesday.
El golpe de Estado no ha logrado consumarse gracias al compromiso, gracias a la memoria fresca que tiene el pueblo boliviano, que de manera automática se ha autoconvocado para salir a defender a un gobierno democráticamente electo. El golpe de Estado y con la democracia en nuestro país. Vamos a batallar, vamos a litigar, no serán procesos fáciles. De un vehículo blindado, el cual impactó en contra de las puertas de la Casa de la Democracia en nuestro país, en contra del Palacio Quemado, y ellos buscaban derrocar y con la democracia en nuestro país. Vamos a batallar, vamos a litigar, no serán procesos fáciles.
According to footage on state television, former President Evo Morales wrote on social media platform X that a coup d'etat is brewing and urged a national mobilization to defend democracy. Bolivia is deeply polarized after years of political instability, and the ruling movement towards socialism party is riven by internal conflict between supporters of Arce and his former mentor Morales. Morales, who was Bolivia's first indigenous president, was extremely popular until he tried to bypass the constitution and seek a 4th term in office in 2019. The leftist and former COCA union leader won that vote, but was forced to resign amid deadly protests over alleged election fraud and fled the country. He returned after Arce won the presidency in October 2020. And since then, a power struggle has grown between the two men and Morales. Kenya witnessed large-scale protests against the proposed tax increase included in a new finance bill. Tensions rose as demonstrators stormed the parliament building, leading to reported casualties. Facing this public outcry, President William Ruto made a significant U-turn, withdrawing the new tax proposals.
I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 finance bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn, and I have agreed with these members that that becomes our collective position.
Initially, President Ruto maintained a strong stance, labeling the protests as treasonous and blaming them on criminal elements. However, after the violence, his rhetoric softened. However, prominent protesters dismissed his comments. What led to these protests? Kenya's rising national debt, coupled with conditions imposed by the IMF for financial aid, led to the proposed tax hike. Now, this measure, which initially included increases on essentials like fuel and food, fueled public anger in a country already grappling with inflation. Young Kenyans, the driving force behind the demonstrations, organized primarily through social media platforms. They streamed the protests and rallies, effectively mobilizing public opinion.
We are here today to protect the interests of our children, the current generation and the generation to come. We want the finance bill to be scrapped in totality.
Kenya's stability is crucial for the East African region, which has historically faced political turmoil. The unrest could have had a ripple effect on neighboring countries. Considering Kenya's economic significance and its role as a U.S. ally, the international community watched the situation closely, urging a peaceful resolution. Following President Ruto's policy reversal, the U.S. condemned the violence and expressed condolences to the victims. They also emphasized the need for restraint and a dialogue to resolve the underlying issues. It's the rematch nobody wanted, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. The two men are going head-to-head in the first presidential debate, slated for Thursday U.S. time in Atlanta. Now, this debate marks a significant departure from tradition. Historically, since 1988, a nonpartisan group has managed U.S. presidential debates. However, this year, the debates are being conducted by U.S. media companies, with CNN hosting the first one. Unique rules are in place: no audience, no opening statements, and no pre-written notes. Additionally, there's a special rule for Trump. He cannot speak out of turn, and if he does, his microphone will be muted. Now, both campaigns have accepted these rules, but how will they play out?
The stakes of this debate in Atlanta tomorrow cannot be any higher. It may be the most important and widely anticipated presidential debate in the United States of all time. The election is razor thin. Our last several elections have been very close. Everyone expects this to be very as well. Both candidates could not be more diametrically opposed in terms of their positions, their agendas, their policy beliefs.
Now, both sides have key goals. Biden's primary task is to demonstrate his mental acuity and readiness for another term, countering doubts about his fitness for office. He needs to appear alert, focused, and mistake-free.
So much is at stake at the election, given the country remains so polarized, and there's such important issues like the economy, immigration, Supreme Court, and other things. And so this election will be very impactful. And having a debate like this so early in the process in June really shifts the narrative of the race and shows what it's all about. Tens of millions of people are going to tune in. The debaters only have an opportunity to make one first positive impression on the debate stage. And so the stakes couldn't be high.
Now that we are back together here in Cambodia, I look forward to building even stronger progress than we've already made. And I want to thank the Prime Minister for Colombia's leadership and the ASEAN chair.
President Biden makes a disqualifying gaffe. He could literally end any hopes for re-election, and that would cause a lot of controversy and discussion of what his age and whether there should be another replacement candidate at the upcoming Democratic National Convention next month.
It is merely an election interference ploy by a crazed lunatic attorney general. Did you ever see this attorney general? She's a lunatic. They're not looking for justice. They only care about how to stop crooked Joe Biden's political opponent. That's me.
And if Trump seems to ramble and have grievances over who won the 2020 election and January 6th and things like that, that's going to bring up a lot of ill will and bad memories of his first term in office, which could offend moderate independent voters, which he needs to win the election. And I think part of the reason both campaigns wanted this debate early, before anyone went to the polls and engaged even in early voting, is they think the debate is important to just set the narrative. There's a lot of people that don't believe that these are the two candidates and we're actually having this rematch. And this solidifies that no matter what you may think, this is the choice. These are the two choices you have. And at that point, setting them up like this, contrasting them in an environment, seeing how their positions contrast, their temperaments, their preparation, whether their age shows, are they fit for office, then debates like this could answer some of those lingering questions voters have. I think Trump thinks that President Biden's too old, and when he's kind of shown side by side, that will come across. He may make a major disqualifying gaffe that'll increase the media cycle on his age and fitness for office in a second term.
Please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive
No,
test?
I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say to President Trump, who brags about his test and makes your mental state an issue for voters?
Well, If he can't figure out the difference between an elephant and a lion, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Did you watch that? Look, come on, man. I know you're trying to goad me, but I mean, I'm so forward looking to have an opportunity to sit with the president or stand with the president in debates.
And President Biden thinks that rather than have the election be a referendum on inflation, the Middle East, Afghanistan, other things he's done, they'd rather have the audience reminded of Trump and his first term in office, the chaos, the kind of rambling.
And echoing the very same words used on January 6th. Where's Nancy? And he thinks that's funny. He laughed about it. What a sick.
And so they both want each other to be front and center. And that's the goal. All these different rule changes, no live audience, the muting of microphones, and things like that are designed for a more issue and substance-focused debate, as opposed to the one in Cleveland in 2020 that was marred by interruptions, ad hominem attacks, and things like that. So that's certainly the desire of CNN, the moderators, and it'd be most beneficial to the public and undecided voters.
I'm not going to answer the question.
Why wouldn't you answer that question?
The question is,
the question Supreme Court justice, radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
All right, gentlemen, I think
this
we've
is
ended
so
this.
unprecedented.
Neither candidate has debated since October of 2020. Normally, the challenger participates in a lot of primary debates and has the advantage in this first showdown, but Trump famously chose not to because he was a known commodity. He didn't want to risk making a mistake or legitimize his opponents. And so both are equally out of practice. And I think there's going to be rust. There's going to be a learning curve, kind of getting back to this. And
Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, is back in Australia after a lengthy legal saga with the United States. His wife Stella Assange addressed the media following his emotional arrival in Canberra.
Julian wanted me to sincerely thank everyone. He wanted to be here. But you have to understand what he's been through. He needs time. He needs to recuperate. And this is a process. I ask you, please, to give us space, to give us privacy.
Assange, 52, landed the night before after pleading guilty in a U.S. court located in the Pacific Islands to a single charge of disclosing classified military information. Under a plea deal, he received no further jail time and was finally freed, marking the end of a 14-year legal fight with the U.S. Department of Justice. He spent over 5 years in London's Belmarsh prison, battling extradition to the U.S. on charges under the Espionage Act. Prior to that, he sought refuge for 7 years in Ecuador's London embassy to avoid extradition to Sweden on sexual assault allegations, which were ultimately dropped. However, the U.S. maintains its stance against Assange. The U.S. State Department reiterated its position, alleging that WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange put people at risk by revealing classified information.
I do think it is important when we talk about Julian Assange to remind the world that the actions for which he was indicted and for which he has now pled guilty are actions that put the lives of our partners, our allies, and our diplomats at risk, especially those who work in dangerous places like Afghanistan and Iraq. This was some years ago now, almost 15 years ago, so I think the world has forgotten much of it. But if you recall, when WikiLeaks first disseminated and published State Department documents, State Department cables, they did so without redacting names. They just threw them out there for the world to see. And so the documents they published gave identifying information of individuals who were in contact with the State Department. That included opposition leaders, human rights activists around the world, whose positions were put in some danger because of their public disclosure. It also chilled the ability of American personnel to build relationships and have frank conversations with them. At the time, those of you who covered the State Department at the time will probably remember that in the days leading up to that release, the State Department really had to scramble to get people out of danger, to move them out of harm's way. It was an extraordinary effort performed by dozens of government officials around the world, but that doesn't change the danger that those actions put innocent people all around the world in. through no fault of their own. And that's, of course, not even to mention the further actions by WikiLeaks down the road to essentially serve as a conduit for Russian intelligence interfering in the U.S. presidential election.
Up next, North Korea announced a successful test of its multiple warhead missile capability, reported by state media today, amidst a wave of trash-laden ballooning landing in South Korea from Pyongyang. And NASA has selected SpaceX to construct a vessel for safely retiring the International Space Station into the Pacific Ocean by 2030. All these and more when we come back.
June 3, 2024, hindi inasahan ng mga residente dito ang biglang pagsabog ng Bulkang Kanlaon. Nagbuga ito ng makapal na usok at inilikas naman ng higit 1,000 individual na residente sa paligid ng bulkan. Nakita niyo ba dito yung Nay, abo?
Umabot amo na gani siya nga napatay, kay ang abo init. Kung wala ang abo na abot, buhi lang ni dapat.
Nandito tayo ngayon sa Canlaon City kasamang ibang volunteers para tulungan tayong mag-repack nitong lingap bags. Ito ipapamigay natin para sa mga naapektuhan po ng pagputok ng Bulkang Canlaon.
Let's live together. Senate 25. Senate 25.
At 5:30 a.m. local time yesterday in Korea, North Korea initiated the day with a provocative action, launching a hypersonic missile towards its eastern waters. Hypersonic missiles travel at speeds exceeding Mach 5, which makes them difficult to intercept due to their high speed and maneuverability. Now, despite this, the test revealed North Korea's relative lag in hypersonic technology compared to countries like Russia, China, and Iran, as the missile crashed into the ocean due to engine trouble. Nevertheless, the missile launch achieved its desired effect of alarming South Korea and the United States. The joint air drills between the two allies, featuring American F-16s alongside South Korean F-35s as part of the Freedom Edge exercise, are set to expand over the next few weeks to include Japan. Now, these exercises aims to enhance the tactical proficiency and interoperability of the U.S., South Korean, and Japanese navies to maintain readiness for potential crisis. The military exercises encompasses various drills, including stealth fighter exercises and aircraft carrier operations. The USS Theodore Roosevelt, an American aircraft carrier, arrived in Busan and was warmly received by South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol. The trilateral cooperation between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan serves as a strong deterrent as they share the values of liberal democracy.
이번 루스벨트 항모 방안 역시 지난해 4월 저와 바이든 대통령이 채택한 워싱턴 선언의 이행 조치로서 강력한 확장 억제를 포함한 미국의 철통 같은 대한 방위 공약을 상징하는 것입니다. 북한은 지금도 핵과 미사일 능력을 고도화하면서 핵 선제 사용까지 공언하고 한반도와 영내 평화를 위협하고 있습니다. 자유민주주의 가치를 공유하는 한미일 3국의 협력은 한미 동맹과 함께 또 하나의 강력한 억제 수단이 될 것입니다.
In order to provide senior leaders soft operations capabilities, we have to conduct the training routinely. So it's a matter of whenever we have the opportunity to bring a crew like this and this system to the peninsula, we'll take advantage of it. We've not forgotten our commitment to the Ironclad Alliance to defend our homelands, a commitment born out of the blood and 70 years of working together to ensure a safe and peaceful Peninsula. Since then, we've steadfastly maintained a deterrence posture with a credible special operations force to prevent conflict, while also giving senior leaders options and the knowledge that we will prevail if needed.
North Korea's displeasure with the joint drills was demonstrated through their missile launch and the resumption of a troubling tactic: trash balloon warfare. Now, Pyongyang has been sending balloons across the border carrying trash and human waste, with today's balloons briefly disrupting operations at Incheon International Airport by shutting down runways for 3 hours. Although this provocative tactic isn't the most dangerous maneuver by North Korea, tensions on the Korean peninsula are escalating, with the joint drills drawing Pyongyang's ire. Russia has deployed about 10,000 naturalized citizens to fight in Ukraine, according to a top official today, and some have opted to leave the country to avoid enlistment. Moscow faces accusations of pressuring Central Asian migrants to join its forces amidst an intense recruitment drive for its Ukraine offensive. Alexander Bastrikin, head of Russia's investigative committee, stated that authorities are targeting migrants with Russian citizenship who failed to register for military service. We have identified over 30,000 who obtained citizenship but did not register for military service and added them to the draft list. Bastrikin said around 10,000 have already been sent to the Special Military Operations Zone, he added, using Russia's term for the Ukraine conflict. Millions of migrant workers, primarily from Central Asia, live in Russia, often in low-paid jobs and poor conditions to support families back home. Now, due to labor shortages, Russia has simplified the citizenship process, making it an attractive option as it eases bureaucratic hurdles for living and working in the country. However, citizenship also requires military registration and potential service if called upon. The International Space Station is like a giant science lab orbiting Earth. But it's getting old and will retire in 2030, so it needs a safe way to come back down. Now, NASA picked SpaceX, a company that launches rockets, to build a spaceship for this job. And this spaceship is called the U.S. Deorbit Vehicle, and it'll carefully guide the ISS into Earth's atmosphere. Most of the station will burn up during re-entry, but big chunks will be left. Now, to avoid hitting anything, the spaceship will aim for a super remote spot in the Pacific Ocean called Point Nemo. The ISS has been a great international collaboration, but it's time to bring it home safely. And despite commitments from the US, Japan, Canada, and ESA to extend operations to 2030, the future of the International Space Station hangs in the balance. Russia, a vital partner, has only agreed to participate until 2028. And this strain, due to worsening U.S.-Russia relations, has prompted NASA to consider developing a U.S.-built deorbit vehicle to guarantee the station's safe disposal.
But also an emergency appropriations request for a deorbiting vehicle so that we can start now, and in 6 years, when we want to deorbit the space station, and remember, this thing is 120 yards long. It's as long as a football field from goalpost to goalpost, and we've got to get it down safely. What happens in the next 6 years? Are we still going to have the same relationship that we can get it down with the Russians? We can't count on that. So we've got to start now to build that U.S. deorbit vehicle that could get the whole station down safely so it won't hit anybody or anything.
So, several companies are working on commercial successors to the ISS, including notably Axiom Space and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin. Now, Elon Musk shared a thrilling video showcasing 2 rockets returning to Earth after a successful liftoff. Take a look.
Wait, I see it.
Yeah, that's one.
And
there's 2.
And that wraps up tonight's news. I'm Alma Angeles. Join us again for more updates on Net 25 World News. Thank you and have a great evening. Good night.
This